Hey, this is JC and welcome to Small Brick City. In this video, I'll be sharing a remake of a classic Lego windmill. Recently, I conducted a poll and I asked viewers and subscribers which classic windmill they'd like me to remake, set 362 or set 365. Overwhelmingly, 362 got the nod of approval, so that's the one I remade. 362 was released in 1975, so it is considered pretty vintage. It is a very basic set, but therein lies a simple charm which I felt had potential. As with all my remakes, the goal is not to make an exact recreation, but is to modernize it, update it, and make it contemporary for today's audience. I see it like how superheroes are remade. Just think of the old Batman or Spider-Man cartoons or TV shows from decades ago. Think of the costumes, and think of the costumes of the remakes in recent years. The new costumes keep the basic aesthetic look, but are completely updated with new materials, highly textured, and a more sophisticated palette of colors. That's exactly how I approach my remakes. And this one was no different. While the original 362 came in basically just 5 or 6 colors, I used that basic color palette and came up with my remake. Check it out. This is my extreme makeover of the classic 362 windmill. I remade all the different builds in the set, including the windmill itself, the small house, and even the truck. I built it on the same size base plate, but I did expand the buildings to be minifig scale. I'm really happy with this remake because the original model was really basic, so I had to put my own creativity and interpretation to make it modern and realistic. You can definitely see the original set in my build, yet there's no denying that there's been a complete modern makeover. I also made some structural changes which I'll explain in just a bit, and we will look at this mock in close detail. But first, let's have a look at the truck or lorry. The truck or lorry was modified from the truck from the Cargo Terminal 60169 set. Annie helped me to shorten it before I modified it to become an open back truck or lorry. I think the colors go really well with this set, and the size is also just right. It is minifig scale and looks just like a big brother of the truck from the original 362 set. While the cab of the truck is similar from the Cargo Terminal set, the overall look is quite different. The top has been changed, and of course the back has been completely shortened and transformed from a big rig truck to a medium-sized open back lorry. There are barrels of grains behind, which comes from the windmill. These barrels are sealed with a top, but they are removable, just like the crate you see behind the cab of the truck. All sides of the open back are enclosed and looks very similar to a real truck. The chassis or the body of the truck is almost identical to the truck from the original set. And inside the cab we have a minifig. To access the minifig we have to take off the roof, and this is the minifig I chose for this set. A grumpy looking driver, probably because he has to carry heavy barrels of grains in the hot sun. What do you think of this truck? I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments. And here we have the main build, which is the windmill and the small house. The windmill has rotating sweeps, that's what the blades of the windmill are called. There's the windmill stack, which leads down to the base. While the windmill is larger than the original 362 set, it is technically not minifig scale, otherwise it would be much larger. But at least it can accommodate a minifig inside, as there's a doorway large enough for a minifig to access the base of the windmill. I added landscaping and details on the green base plate to give it texture and a realistic look. The small house is not really a house or a home, but it is a small building for the windmill operator to work from. As you can see, I've kept to the basic color scheme, but really textured it up with various shades of the same colors. I did switch out the yellow for white though, because I felt that yellow was just too out of place. Let's have a closer look at the minifigs first. I showed you the driver earlier, and here's one of the windmill workers, Joe. If you think he looks familiar, it's because his previous job was working at the old fishing store. The owner and operator of the windmill is a man by the name of Ruben. Ruben is an old-timer in the business and doesn't really do the hard work anymore, he just oversees the operations. He has a German Shepherd called Rufus, who really loves cherries. And Rufus loves Ruben, unless he doesn't get any cherries. Here's a closer look at the top of the windmill. The windmill sweeps can actually move, and I'll show you that in just a while. And the main tower is made out of sand blue bricks. as well as dark grey masonry bricks. I have 3 different colours for the roof, which gives it a very textured look. I decided not to put the tower at an angle like the original because I felt that was a bit strange. The windows are a bit unique because I placed white hinging windows in the middle of dark tan window frames. Overall, I'm very satisfied with how the windmill tower and sweeps turned out. As mentioned, the windmill sweeps can actually rotate as they're connected with a Technic pin and brick. One thing I did do was to make the windmill tower modular, so it can actually detach from the base very easily because it's held together by a jumper plate. So the whole windmill tower is one unit by itself, but I also made the roof and the windmill sweep detachable as well. And here you can see right into the windmill tower, although it's a bit dark. I did not detail it in any way, although in real life a windmill should have different levels and some machinery built into it. Maybe I'll update it in future. For the base of the windmill, I did replicate the main sloping black structure, but I also added lots of landscaping and detail on the exterior. Here are some sealed barrels of grain produced by the windmill. There's a sandy area in front of the windmill, but with wooden planks laid out from the road to the door of the base of the windmill. I did do a bit of detailing in the base of the windmill. With the door open, you can see some of the gears of machinery inside, even though it's a bit dark. There's a large gear which actually can turn, and there are barrels on top and below it, so the windmill worker will actually exchange barrels of grain under the gear once the grain is milled. While not very large, a minifig can still reasonably squeeze himself inside to maintain the windmill or to exchange the barrels of grain. For the area beside the base of the windmill, I placed a little fence as that was in the original set as well. However, I wanted some motivation for the fence, so I placed a bunch of tools behind it to indicate that area is for employees only. Like the rest of the base plate, the ground is textured with green stud parts, 1x1 dark green plates, and different plant elements to give it lots of texture. The look of the house is basically the same as the original, but I added a bench in front for Ruben to rest, and I used different bricks to create a weathered look. Different coloured slope pieces of shades of brown and red were used to create the roof. There are lots of plant elements, including shrubs on the ground on the side of the house, and a large wall-crawling creeper. All these elements really come together to give character to this small little house. The back wall design of the house has 4 windows to give it a lot of light. And here it is more apparent that I lined the bottom of the entire house with dark tan masonry bricks. I feel the different coloured bricks really add visual variety to the build. There's lots of green texture created by different plant elements along the entire back of the property. I released a video recently on how to detail a Lego garden, so that might be helpful if you're landscaping any outdoor environment. Let's have a closer look at this little house, and in a while you'll see why this house is superior to the original set in one very important way. There's a door and window which replicates the original build, but I designed my roof to be modular, so it detaches from the building as one piece. I moved the chimney from the center to the end of the building, and the reason will be apparent when you look inside the house. There really isn't much room in this small little house, which is why I built the bench on the outside. But there was still enough space to put in the one feature that makes this better than the original set, and that is a toilet. As you walk into the house, you'll see a small office area with a filing cabinet and bookcase. And from the outside, you might actually see that small kitchen. In that little end, there's an oven and a stove, and that slope piece built into the wall is actually the hood of the cooker. And that explains why I moved the chimney on the roof. The toilet is really tiny, but includes a toilet bowl and a small sink. It's really cramped, but at least you can go to the toilet. And here's a look at the interior from another angle. The entire floor is covered with brown tiles to give a wood plank feel that matches the rest of the feel of the house. I hope you enjoyed my remake of the classic 362 Windmill. I think I did a pretty good job in reimagining the set and executing the details that brings new life into it. For some reason, I really enjoyed this design and build. I think there are 2 reasons for that. The first reason is that there were multiple small builds to this set. There's the truck, the windmill itself, and the small house. And I had to recreate all these 3 builds together and fit them into an organic environment so that everything comes together seamlessly. The second reason is because the starting point was really basic. I really had to use imagination and creativity to create a good remake, and the results are personally quite satisfying. So I would like to ask you a question. Besides giving me your thoughts on this build itself, let me know which of my 4 remakes that I've done so far you like the best. There's the Poolside Paradise, Dolphin Point, Pizza to Go, and this set, the 362 Windmill. I'll be interested to know which are your favorites, or maybe the order of preference, as this will give me an idea of what content to create in future. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, if you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't, subscribe to the channel. Do check out these 2 videos on the screen if you missed them from before. Talk to you soon!